chosen one. Pause right now. This moment is not random, not a passing accident on your screen. Heaven has orchestrated this Thursday to place this message directly before your eyes. The fact that you are here is evidence that God has marked you. And today, His voice cuts through every distraction. You have carried questions deep inside. Why do I endure so much more than others? Why do my dreams feel delayed, almost locked away? Those questions were never ignored. They rose up to the throne of God. And today He answers, you are chosen. Think back to the nights when silence felt heavier than words, when it seemed like you were walking inside a room with no windows, and yet even the smallest flame can send shadows fleeing. You are that flame. You are like a torch in the hand of a traveler wandering through a desert, not only lighting your own path, but guiding others who are weary, searching, and desperate. Let me tell you of another chosen one. He lived in a season of waiting that seemed endless. Every door closed. Every promise looked far away. People mocked him for believing in the unseen, but he did not quit. He prayed. He held his ground. And when God's appointed day arrived, everything shifted in an instant. The same voices that once laughed had no choice but to acknowledge the power of God. That story is a mirror for you. Your season of waiting is not meaningless. It is preparation. The prophet Hosea declared in chapter 6, verse 3, "Let us acknowledge the Lord. Let us press on to know Him. As surely as the sun rises, He will come like the rains that water the earth." Take this as your anchor. The sunrise never fails to appear. The rains always return to the earth in their season. In the same way, God will not fail you. He will appear. He will come. And the dry ground of your life will bloom again. Chosen one, hear this clearly. You are not invisible. Every scar you carry is about to become proof of healing. Every tear you sowed in secret is about to grow into a harvest of joy. You are not simply surviving, you are being positioned to overcome. You were never designed to blend in, you were marked to stand out. If this message stirs your heart, let your response echo. Tap like, share it with someone who needs this hope, and subscribe so you remain connected to words that lift your spirit. This is not just a digital action, it is a declaration that you refuse to miss the whispers of heaven again. And as a final step of faith, type 777 inches, the comments. Let it be your sign of agreement that you are aligned with God's perfect timing, trusting that His appearance in your life will come as surely as the rising sun. And let this truth sink deeper. You are not standing here by chance. Heaven has singled you out to hear what others may scroll past. Your journey may look ordinary to some, but in the unseen realm, it is extraordinary. You are the one darkness fears, because light is written into your name. This Thursday is not just another day, it is a turning point. Heaven has declared it so, and your response marks the shift. Chosen one, listen closely. This moment in your journey is not about noise, but about stillness. There is a sacred weight pressing on your spirit, and if you pause, you can sense it. The silence that has surrounded you in certain seasons was not punishment. It was formation. Heaven does not waste silence. You know the ache of waiting. You know the sting of watching others move ahead while you remain in place, feeling as if your life has been put on hold. That tension has tempted you to think God overlooked you. Yet what if the very delay you despised was the stage for your transformation? Consider the seed hidden underground. For months it looks buried, lifeless, forgotten beneath the soil. No one sees the roots stretching down. No one notices the silent work happening in darkness. But when the appointed time arrives, the seed breaks through, pushing toward light, stronger than before. That image is you. Buried does not mean forgotten. Hidden does not mean abandoned. I remember the story of a young man called to serve, yet forced into obscurity. His family did not understand him. His friends distanced themselves. The dreams God had whispered into his spirit seemed impossible. But during those hidden years, his character was forged. His humility deepened. His voice sharpened. And when the doors finally opened, he carried not only skill, but authority. His obscurity was preparation for visibility. That same refining hand is upon you. There is something powerful about those who endure hidden seasons. They learn to recognize the voice of God without applause. They learn to stand firm without an audience. They become like iron sharpened in fire, unyielding, unbreakable, ready for battle. Without those hidden years, they would crumble under the weight of their calling. With them, they rise unstoppable. The Apostle Paul wrote in the letter to the Romans, chapter 5, verses 3 to 4, "We glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, character, and character, hope." Let this truth settle inside you. Your pain is producing perseverance. Your perseverance is shaping character. And your character is birthing hope. Nothing you have endured will be wasted. Every trial has been a brick in the foundation of your destiny. Chosen one. Think of your journey this way. You are like a sculptor chiseling stone. From a distance, the process looks messy, slow, even pointless. But every strike removes what is unnecessary, revealing the masterpiece within. Your life has been under the chisel of heaven. Every delay, every no, every closed door, each was a strike, removing what could not stay, shaping you into the vessel God designed. Do not resent the silence. Do not curse the waiting. The silence has been your shield. The waiting has been your womb. You are being reborn into a strength you did not know you carried. And when you emerge, you will find that the world has changed. But more importantly, you have changed. You will no longer beg for doors to open. You will walk with the authority to push them wide. You will not search for validation. You will speak with the confidence of one validated by heaven. This season is not wasted. It is the very soil from which your destiny will bloom. As the prophet once declared, God comes like the dawn and like the rains. So it will be with you. The dawn is near. The rains are gathering. And your life is about to testify that waiting was not a delay, but a divine appointment. Chosen one. There is a holy weight in your steps that even you have not fully seen. You have been through valleys that others would not survive. Yet here you are, still breathing, still searching, still holding on to a hope that refuses to die. This resilience is not accidental. It is a sign that heaven has marked you for more. Every scar you carry tells a story. Some of those scars were born from betrayal, others from seasons where you were left behind. And while people saw failure, God saw endurance. What you thought would break you has, in fact, trained you, like a warrior returning from battle, scarred but unbowed. Your very existence declares that no weapon formed against you has prevailed. Think about this. When light passes through a diamond, it refracts into countless colors, but before it was a diamond, it was just a rough, unremarkable stone. It had to endure pressure in the dark, and only then could it reflect beauty. That is you. Heaven has allowed pressure to shape you, because there is brilliance inside you that cannot come forth without fire. The Word of God proclaims in the book of James, chapter 1, verses 2 to 4, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." Len, chosen one. This is not about pain without purpose. Every test has produced perseverance. Every night of tears has been a training ground. You are maturing into someone who will not crack under pressure, but will stand firm when others collapse. There is a story of a woman who lost nearly everything: her job, her friends, even her sense of belonging. For years, she wandered through what felt like ashes, yet she never let go of prayer. Slowly, opportunities began to open, doors that were bigger than what she lost. Looking back, she realized, if she had not walked through loss, she would never have gained the strength to hold the blessings. Her ashes became the soil of her testimony. So here is the challenge. Write in the comments these 3 words: I choose strength. Not as an empty phrase, but as a declaration. When you type those words, you are aligning with heaven, saying, I will not see myself as a victim of circumstance, but as a victor trained for destiny. Your comment becomes your covenant. Do not underestimate the power of such a small act. It is like planting a seed. To others, it may look like a few letters on a screen, but in the unseen realm, it is a statement of faith. You are choosing to speak life over yourself instead of rehearsing defeat. That choice marks the beginning of a shift. Chosen one. Strength has always been in you. Now it is time to acknowledge it, to rise in it, and to walk forward as the one chosen, not just to endure, but to conquer. Your words carry power. Chosen one. When you declare, I choose strength, you are not simply typing. It is a prophetic act. Heaven records it, and darkness fears it, because it proves that your spirit is not bowed under the weight of trial. Think of it as placing a banner over your life. That short phrase becomes a standard lifted high in battle, signaling both to angels and to your own soul. I will rise, I will endure, and I will finish my race with strength. Chosen one. You have walked through paths where silence seemed louder than promises. And yet, here, you stand, not because the road was easy, but because something inside you refused to quit. That something was not merely willpower, it was the hand of God steadying you when you did not even realize it. There is a mystery about your life. People may see only fragments of your story, but heaven sees the full picture. What looked like wandering was actually direction. What felt like delay was divine positioning, like a chessboard where every move seems slow and calculated. God has been arranging pieces around you so that when the right moment comes, everything will align in your favor. Consider the river. It carves through stone not by violence, but by persistence, day after day, drop after drop. It shapes what once seemed unshakable. That is what your journey has been: small, unseen movements of faith. prayers whispered when no one heard, tears that watered the ground of your destiny. Slowly but surely, the landscape of your life has been reshaped, according to what is revealed in the book of Proverbs, chapter 16, verse 9. In their hearts, humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps. This verse is not just poetry, it is reality. You have made plans. You have dreamed dreams. And yet, even when your path shifted, you were not lost. God was establishing your steps, placing you exactly where you needed to be. There was once a young leader who dreamed of influence and impact, but instead of rising quickly, he was pulled into years of obscurity. He worked in places that felt beneath him. He served under people who overlooked him. At times, bitterness crept close, but he chose to trust. And when the day came, he discovered that every season had taught him something essential: patience, wisdom, humility. Without those hidden lessons, the crown would have crushed him. With them, he could carry the weight of leadership. You, too, are being trained in silence. You may not see it yet, but every ordinary day, every quiet task, every overlooked season has been sharpening you, like a blade against stone. You are being honed to cut through resistance. Chosen one. The enemy tries to convince you that nothing is happening. That is his lie. In truth, everything is happening beneath the surface. Roots are deepening. Strength is building. You are not idle. You are incubating. And when God says it is time, you will not crawl. You will soar. Think of the eagle. Long before it spreads its wings across the sky, it spends weeks in the nest, stretching muscles, testing strength. The waiting season is not wasted. It is the reason it can take flight. The same is true for you. Do not despise the process. Do not rush what God has ordained to unfold. For the one who established your steps is not careless. He is weaving your story with precision. Chosen one. Trust that even now, while you cannot see the full picture, heaven sees it all. And the day will come when you look back and realize every detour was divine direction. Every silence was sacred preparation. Every step was leading you closer to the purpose you were chosen for. What feels uncertain now will one day shine with clarity. Every unseen thread is part of the tapestry. Trust the weaver, for he wastes nothing in your becoming. Chosen one. Mercy is not silent today. There is an urgency woven into the air around you, not the kind that brings fear, but the kind that awakens your soul. Mercy is calling, and when mercy speaks, it is a gift. For too long, many have delayed, thinking tomorrow would always be available. But heaven reminds you that every heartbeat is precious, and every decision carries weight. Think of the traveler who stands at a crossroads. One path looks wide and crowded, filled with laughter and distractions, but it leads only into a desert where nothing grows. The other path looks narrow, quiet, even lonely at first, but at the end waits a garden bursting with fruit and rivers flowing with life. That is where you are now, standing at the fork. Asked not simply to choose a road, but to choose your destiny, as was spoken in the sacred texts of Deuteronomy, chapter 30, verse 19. This day I call the heavens and the earth as witnesses against you that I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose life, so that you and your children may live. There is no coincidence here. You are not standing at this moment by accident. You are hearing the echo of eternity, reminding you that mercy has drawn near. And this drawing is not harsh, it is tender. It is the voice of a father who longs for his child to live fully, to walk in the abundance of a chosen life. I once knew a man who resisted that voice. He thought surrender meant losing freedom. He chased pleasures, applause, and temporary comfort. Yet the more he gained, the emptier he felt. But when he finally stopped running and whispered, "God, I'm ready," everything shifted. Peace filled the cracks. Purpose replaced confusion. And freedom came in a form he had never imagined. His life became a lighthouse, guiding others who were lost at sea. And so, I invite you to see this moment not as pressure, but as a beautiful offering. Just as a bird lifts its wings to catch the wind, your heart can open to this divine current. When you lean in, when you allow yourself to be carried, you discover that surrender is not a cage, it is flight. If these words stir you, let your response be more than silence. Think of it as planting a flag on the mountaintop of your journey. When you press like, it is not just a button, it is as if you are marking the ground with your presence. When you share, it is as though you are carrying a torch into the night, passing flame to another who has lost their way. And when you subscribe, picture it as building a home beside a flowing river, choosing to remain where living water never stops. These actions are not demands, they are invitations. Just as love never forces, but always calls, so too do these steps. The choice is yours, and it is a beautiful one, chosen one. Mercy stands before you today, not as a judge with a gavel, but as a friend extending a hand. Take it. Lift your eyes. Let this Thursday mark the day you embrace the call, not with reluctance, but with joy, for life is set before you, and heaven is waiting to see you walk in it. Chosen one. Alignment is not something you stumble into by accident. It is a sacred choice, a moment when your spirit says yes to the rhythm of heaven. Right now, you are being invited into that rhythm. The tug you feel in your heart is not coincidence. It is the Spirit guiding you into divine order. There are times when life feels like scattered pieces of a puzzle. You hold fragments of promise, broken memories, and questions with no answers. You wonder if they will ever fit together. But the God who painted galaxies has also sketched the blueprint of your days. Alignment means trusting that He is putting each piece in its rightful place. Think of the stars, alone. Each one glimmers. But when you step back, they form constellations patterns written in the sky. Your life is the same. From up close, you see fragments. From heaven's view, there is design. And this design unfolds when you step into alignment with His will. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms, chapter 37, verse 23. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and He delights in His way. Now, this truth is a reassurance. Your steps are not random. They are ordered, arranged, aligned. Every time you choose faith instead of fear, you move deeper into that order. Every time you turn away from distraction and fix your eyes on God, you align yourself with His delight. Let me tell you about someone who once felt lost, chasing one opportunity after another, never finding peace. She tried new jobs, new friendships, even new cities. thinking alignment could be found in change of scenery. But it was only when she surrendered her direction to God that alignment arrived. Doors opened naturally. Peace returned. What she had been chasing externally, she discovered internally through obedience. Her life became like a river that no longer fought against rocks, but flowed smoothly in its course. Chosen one. Your journey has not been wasted. The scattered moments will soon reveal their pattern. The cracks you see in yourself are not flaws, but the very channels where God's light will shine through. Alignment is already happening, even in places you cannot see. Now, take this moment as a prophetic act. Write the number 888 inches the comments. This is not superstition, it is agreement. Triple eighths. A number of new beginnings and overflow symbolize the endless flow of God's promises. As you type it, you are declaring, I choose alignment. I choose to walk where my steps are ordered. I choose the abundance of God's plan over the scarcity of my own. Do not underestimate what this act means. Just as Abraham built altars to mark his encounters with God, your comment becomes a marker of this moment. It says, here, today, I aligned myself with heaven. Chosen one. Alignment will bring peace where there was confusion. It will bring clarity where there was fog. It will bring strength where there was weakness. And the more you align, the more your life will look like a constellation shining, purposeful, arranged by the Creator of the stars. Alignment is not just a concept, it is movement. Every choice you make in faith becomes like a step on a staircase that God Himself is building under your feet. You may not see the full staircase yet, but it is carrying you upward. Typing 888 is more than numbers on a screen. It is a visible echo of your invisible yes. It is the language of faith, turning a moment into a milestone and a symbol into a seal. Chosen one. Can you sense it? Something in the unseen realm is shifting even now. The chains that once held you captive are beginning to weaken. The walls that seemed unbreakable are showing cracks. You may not yet see the full breakthrough with your eyes, but heaven is already moving on your behalf. Think of Israel standing before the Red Sea. Behind them, an army pressing close. Before them, waters that mocked their escape. In the natural, there was no way forward. But when God commanded the waters to part, impossibility became a highway. That same power is working in your life. The power to break chains, to open seas, to make a way where there was none. The Word of God declares in the book of Nahum, chapter 1, verse 13, Now I will break their yoke from your neck and tear your shackles away. This is not just ancient poetry, it is present reality. The yoke of fear, the shackles of shame, the heavy chains of doubt, they are being torn off you. What once defined you will no longer confine you. The very weights that slowed your steps are being lifted, one, by the hand of the Almighty. I recall the story of a man who spent years bound by addiction. He tried to free himself through sheer willpower, but the chains tightened each time. It wasn't until he cried out, not with strength, but with surrender, that the chains broke. The freedom was sudden, shocking even to him. What years of striving couldn't accomplish, one moment of divine intervention achieved. His story reminds us, chains are no match for the one who breaks them. Chosen one. Perhaps your chains are not visible. They may be chains of insecurity, chains of rejection, chains, of unspoken pain. Others may not notice, but God sees. And what He sees, He heals. What He touches, He transforms. Your private prisons are not hidden from His power. Imagine standing in a dark room, bound at the wrists. Suddenly, a shaft of light cuts through the ceiling, and the ropes dissolve like smoke in fire. That is what freedom feels like. That is what heaven is doing in your story, sending light into darkness, fire into bondage, hope into despair. And here is what's even more powerful. When your chains break, it doesn't stop with you. Freedom multiplies. Just as one flame can ignite countless others, your deliverance becomes a spark that sets others free. The world needs your testimony, not polished and perfect, but raw and real. Your scars will speak louder than sermons. Chosen one, let this truth rest deep inside. The prison doors are open. You don't have to carry the chains another step. You don't have to define yourself by what once bound you. Walk forward. Lift your head. Breathe the air of liberty. For you are chosen not to remain in captivity, but to live as a witness of freedom. The chains are breaking now. Not tomorrow. Not someday. Now. And as they fall, heaven smiles. Because the one God chose has stepped into the liberty bought by His love. Freedom is not fragile, it is fierce. When heaven breaks your chains, they cannot be reforged. What once defined you has lost its voice, and you now walk with a strength forged in fire. Step boldly into this new chapter. The air you breathe is no longer heavy with bondage, but alive with promise. Chosen one. Rejection has followed you like a shadow. You know the sting of doors closing in your face, of voices dismissing your worth, of moments where you were overlooked when you should have been chosen. Rejection has a way of cutting deep, convincing you that something must be wrong with you. But listen carefully. Every rejection you faced was not punishment, it was protection. When one door slammed, it was not because you were unworthy, but because heaven was shielding you from what would have crushed your spirit. What you thought was failure was, in truth, redirection. God has been steering you away from traps that looked like opportunities, away from counterfeits that looked like blessings, away from roads that would have led to ruin. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah in chapter 29, verse 11, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Oh, you see, rejection is often God's loudest yes disguised as silence. The yes is not to the thing you wanted, but to the destiny He is guarding, like a shepherd blocking one path to keep the sheep from danger. God has been blocking certain routes in your life, not because He withholds, but because He protects. I remember the testimony of a young woman who had her heart broken by doors that kept shutting. She applied for jobs she never got, prayed for relationships that ended in heartbreak, and begged for opportunities that never came. At the time, reaction felt like abandonment. But years later, she discovered the truth. Those doors kept her available for the very assignment she was born for. What felt like loss was actually alignment. Chosen one. Look back at your own journey. The places where you were told no, the people who walked away, the circles that never embraced you, those were not signs of your weakness. They were signs of your calling. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to be set apart. Imagine a master gardener. He prunes branches, cutting away what looks green and alive. To the untrained eye, the pruning seems harsh, but the gardener knows that without pruning, the plant will never bear fruit. In the same way, God has pruned your life, removing people and places that could not stay, because He sees the fruit that is coming. Rejection, then, is not a curse. It is the careful hand of God removing what cannot carry you forward. Every no has created space for the greater yes. Every closed door has protected the path to the open gates of destiny. Chosen one, you are not disqualified. You are preserved. The setbacks that seemed like endings are actually safeguards. The people who left were never meant to journey with you into the fullness of your calling. You have been guarded, not discarded. So stand taller. Lift your eyes. Let the sting of rejection become the fuel of redirection. Heaven's hand has been steady over you all along. And one day soon, the very places that pushed you aside will witness the glory of what God preserved you for. What once felt like loss will be remembered as mercy. Every closed door carved the path to a greater destination, one that could only be reached by protection, disguised as rejection. Chosen one. Rejoice in what did not work out, for in every withheld answer, heaven was writing a better story. Chosen one. Surrender is the doorway into strength. You may have thought surrender meant weakness, but the truth is, surrender is the moment you finally stop carrying what was never yours to hold. God has been whispering, not to strip you of freedom, but to release you into it. Every time you hesitated, wrestling with whether to yield, you felt the tension of two kingdoms pulling at your soul. One kingdom calls you to cling tightly, to control, to grasp. The other kingdom calls you to open your hands, to let go, to trust. The battle you feel is proof of how much heaven has invested in you. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 16, verse 24, "Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me." This is not the kind of denial that empties you. It is the kind that fills you. When you let go of your will, you make room for His. When you release your grip on temporary things, you discover eternal treasures. Surrender does not leave you with less. It positions you to carry more. I recall the story of a man who clung to his ambitions with both fists. He was determined to prove himself, to rise on his own terms. But exhaustion wore him down. One night, he finally cried, "Lord, I cannot do this anymore." That simple sentence became the doorway into peace. From that moment on, things shifted. His strength was no longer his own. It was God working through him. Chosen one. The same invitation is extended to you. This is your turning point. The place where you trade control for trust, striving for rest, fear for faith. So here is your declaration for today. Type these words in the comments. I surrender now. Do not treat it as empty text. These 3 words carry weight. They are a spiritual contract, a covenant that echoes beyond your screen into eternity. When you write them, you are announcing to heaven and to yourself that you are ready to let go of what has chained you and to embrace the freedom God has prepared for you. Think of it this way: a clenched fist can hold on tightly, but it cannot receive anything new. Only an open hand can catch the rain, hold the blessing, or receive the gift. By declaring, "I surrender now," you are opening your hands before heaven, ready for what is coming. Chosen one. Surrender is not the end of your journey, it is the beginning of the true one. And as you release, you will discover that what you thought was loss is actually life. And what you thought was weakness is the greatest strength of all. Surrender is not about defeat, it is about transfer. When you hand over the weight you cannot carry, God places His strength upon you. The load may not disappear instantly, but your shoulders will feel lighter, because it is no longer yours alone. Think of water pouring into a cracked vessel. On its own, the vessel leaks, wasting what it holds. But when the cracks are sealed by the potter's hand, it can carry the water without loss. That is what surrender does. Your life becomes whole enough to hold His presence. Chosen one. Let this truth settle. Surrender is the most courageous choice you can make. It is the declaration that you are finished fighting battles in your own strength and ready to walk under divine covering. What begins with 3 simple words, "I surrender," now unfolds into a lifetime of peace, direction, and victory. Chosen one. Your hidden season has not been wasted. While you felt overlooked, heaven was clothing you with something unseen authority. The crown you will one day wear has been forged in silence, shaped not on stages but in shadows. And now, even before you see it, heaven whispers, your crown is waiting. Imagine a seed deep in the soil. For weeks it lies unseen, pressed down by earth, unseen by anyone passing above. Yet within that pressure, life stirs. Roots spread, stems push upward, and in time, a bloom breaks through, radiant for all to see. That bloom did not appear overnight. It was born from the hidden struggle. That is the picture of your life. It is written in the book of Hebrews, chapter 10, verse 35. So do not throw away your confidence. It will be richly rewarded. Confidence is not loud boasting. It is quiet endurance. It is the trust that, even when nothing makes sense, God is crafting something that will stand the test of time. Your confidence in Him is the crown He is preparing for your head. I think of a young man who once despised his hidden season. He wanted the spotlight, the recognition, the crown. But instead, he spent years in obscurity, watching sheep while others fought battles. Yet every quiet night under the stars, every song sung alone in the fields, was shaping him into the leader he was destined to be. By the time his crown came, he was not only ready to wear it, he was ready to carry it. Chosen one. Your waiting is not emptiness, it is training. You are like a sword resting in the fire. The heat feels unbearable, but without it, the blade would remain soft and dull. Only through the flame can the steel become strong enough to cut through resistance. Now, I invite you to see your response as more than a click. When you press like, it is as if you are polishing that sword, acknowledging that the fire has purpose. When you share, it is like placing a torch into another's hand, lighting the path for someone still lost in shadows. When you subscribe, it is like stepping into the training ground again and again, choosing to return, where your spirit is sharpened and your crown is formed. These actions are not demands, they are symbols. They turn your unseen agreement into a visible witness, and every witness is a reminder. I am still here. I am still chosen. I am still crowned. Chosen one. Picture this. Your crown is not made of gold that tarnishes, nor jewels that fade. It is woven from perseverance, set with the gems of endurance, polished by the tears you have sown. Every moment you endured when others quit has been added to it. Every prayer whispered in the dark is engraved in its band. Lift your head. The silence you once cursed has been your workshop. The delays you hated have been your shaping. And when your crown rests upon you, you will see clearly it was worth every hidden season. The crown waiting for you is not fragile. It is forged to endure. No storm can shake it. No hand can steal it. For it has been sealed by heaven's authority. Chosen one. Walk with the quiet confidence of one already crowned, even before the world recognizes it. Heaven has already placed it upon your spirit, and that truth cannot be undone. Chosen one. Your calling is not a gentle invitation into comfort, it is a summons into battle. The moment you said yes to God, you became a target for darkness. That resistance you feel is not a sign of failure. It is evidence that your life is dangerous to the enemy. You were not placed on this earth to sit quietly in the background. You were called to wage war for souls. The battlefield is not always visible. It is not fought with swords and shields of iron, but with prayer, faith, and endurance. The whispers of doubt in your mind, the waves of fear pressing against your chest, the temptation to quit when the road feels endless, these are not coincidences. They are fiery arrows. And the fact that they keep coming proves that you are standing in a place of impact. The Apostle Paul reminds us in his letter to the Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 12, "For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms." Chosen one. Let this verse reframe your battles. The fight is not against people. It is not against the ones who misunderstand you, mock you, or walk away from you. No, the true war is deeper, unseen, raging in realms beyond human sight. And you, by divine appointment, are placed in the middle of it, not to be crushed, but to conquer. Think of the warrior who trains for years in silence, sharpening their sword, strengthening their arms, preparing for a day unseen. When the horn of battle finally sounds, they rise not with panic, but with confidence, knowing that every hidden drill was for this very hour. That is you. Your hidden seasons have been training grounds, equipping you for a war far larger than yourself. I once knew someone who felt overwhelmed by the constant opposition in her life. No matter what she tried, resistance came. At first, she thought it was bad luck, but slowly she realized opposition was a signal. She was carrying something powerful enough to draw attention from darkness, and when she embraced the battle, she discovered a strength inside her she never knew existed. Chosen one. Your warfare is not meaningless. Every tear you've shed in prayer has been ammunition. Every declaration of faith when fear pressed in has been a sword stroke against the enemy. Every act of love when hatred tried to poison you has been a victory blow. Picture a torchbearer running through a dark valley. Shadows stretch. Voices echo. Fear tries to suffocate, yet the torch burns steady. And with each step, darkness shrinks back. That is you. Your very presence disrupts the plans of the enemy. You carry a flame the night cannot extinguish. Do not shrink back. Do not misinterpret resistance as failure. The truth is far greater. You are in the middle of a war for souls, and heaven has trusted you to fight. The battle may rage, but you are not alone. You are surrounded by angels, equipped with armor not made by hands, strengthened by the Spirit Himself. And when this war is done, you will look back and see it clearly. You were never fighting for survival. You were fighting for destiny, for eternity, for the lives heaven intends to rescue through you. Chosen one, you have reached a threshold moment. There are seasons in life where heaven pauses and offers you a choice: to remain where you are, or to step forward into a new chapter. This is one of those moments. The ground beneath your feet is holy with decision. Transitions are rarely comfortable. They demand courage, because stepping into the new often means leaving behind the familiar. But what looks like loss is actually gain. God never calls you to release something without already preparing what will take its place. Your story is moving forward, and you are invited to walk in step with His design. The Apostle Paul wrote in his letter to the Corinthians, chapter 5, verse 17, "If anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come, the old has gone. The new is here." This is not just a verse, it is a promise. Your old chapter is closing, not because it was meaningless, but because it has finished its work. The mistakes, the lessons, the victories, all of it was preparation. And now, the page turns. The new creation is not something distant, it is already beginning in you. I remember a woman who struggled with letting go of her past. Every time God whispered, "Move forward," she clung tighter to old memories, old friendships, old failures. But the longer she held on, the heavier her heart became. Finally, with trembling faith, she whispered yes to God's new chapter. The release was painful, but soon she found fresh doors opening, joy returning, purpose rising. What she thought was an ending was actually her rebirth. Chosen one. The same call rests on you today. The Spirit is saying, step across the threshold. Do not remain chained to yesterday. Do not fear what you cannot yet see. The same God who carried you through storms is the one who now ushers you into a season of abundance. Now take this step of agreement. Write the number 555 inches, the comments. This is more than digits. It is a prophetic symbol. Triple fives. Declare grace upon grace. Favor multiplied. A divine reset. By typing it, you are saying, I embrace the new. I accept the grace. I step into the fresh chapter heaven has prepared for me. This number becomes like a marker on your path. The way stones were once stacked by Israel to remind them of God's faithfulness. It is a visible altar that says, here, I turned the page. Here, I chose new beginnings. Onzek, chosen one. Breathe deep. The air of the new season is already filling your lungs. The past cannot hold you. The future is calling you. Step forward with courage. For the old has gone, and the new has come. New beginnings are not always loud. Sometimes they come softly, like dawn creeping across the horizon. Yet even in their quiet arrival, they carry unstoppable power. When you choose to embrace the new, you are not erasing your past, you are redeeming it. Every scar becomes a testimony. Every detour becomes a lesson. Every loss becomes a seed for future harvest. Typing 555 is more than agreement. It is a prophetic declaration. It says to your own heart, I welcome the multiplied grace of God. I will not resist what heaven is releasing. This number becomes the banner over your transition. Chosen one. Trust the process. The God who writes your story does not leave chapters unfinished. The page has turned, and the ink of promise is already being written. Chosen one. You have weathered storms that would have swallowed others whole. The winds have howled. The waves have risen. Yet you remain standing. This is not because the storms were weaker for you. It is because the foundation beneath you was stronger. What others saw as fragility, heaven saw as resilience. Storms are teachers. They strip away illusions, revealing what is built on sand and what is built on rock. You have seen this with your own eyes. Relationships that crumbled, opportunities that dissolved, dreams that seemed to collapse in the wind. But look closer, though the storm took much. It could not take you. That is proof that your life rests on something immovable. The Apostle Paul wrote in his first letter to the Corinthians, chapter 15, verse 58, Therefore, my dear brothers and sisters, stand firm. Let nothing move you. Always give yourselves fully to the work of the Lord, because you know that your labor in the Lord is not in vain. No, chosen one. This verse is your mirror. You are the one who has stood firm. You are the one who has labored in tears and yet not lost faith, and every unseen act of obedience, every whispered prayer, every step taken when no one applauded, it has not been in vain. I once heard the story of a woman who endured years of personal storms. Her family rejected her. Her health failed. Her finances collapsed. To others, it looked as if she was finished. Yet in the quiet of her room, she clung to God's promises. She repeated them like oxygen, one verse at a time, one prayer at a time. And though everything around her fell apart, her spirit stood unshaken. Years later, restoration came in ways she could never have imagined. The storm did not define her. The foundation did. You, too, are that kind of unshakable soul. The storm was not sent to destroy you, but to reveal you. Like a lighthouse battered by relentless waves, you still shine. Ships still see your light. Hope still flows from your presence. You may feel cracked, but you are not crumbling. You may feel weary, but you are not broken. Think of a mountain. Seasons change. Snow covers its peak. Rain washes its slopes. Storms rage against its cliffs, but it remains unmoved. That is the image heaven paints over you. You are not a reed swayed by every wind. You are a mountain, rooted in eternity. Immovable, because God Himself planted you. Chosen one. Let this truth sink deep. Your survival is not accidental. Your endurance is not coincidence. The fact that you are still here is proof that God's hand has been your anchor. And because you have stood through the storm, you are now trusted to carry peace to others, still in the tempest. The storms may return, but they will no longer terrify you. For you have learned the secret. Storms are temporary, but your foundation is eternal. You are unshakable not because you never tremble, but because God never moves. So walk forward with quiet strength. Let the memory of the storm remind you, not of pain, but of resilience. You have faced winds, waves, and nights of fear, and still you stand. That is who you are, unshakable, chosen, and anchored in the eternal rock. Your story is not about survival alone, it is about victory. The same storms that tried to bury you have become the stage where God's unshakable strength in you is revealed. Chosen one. The mark upon your life is not small. It is not meant to stay hidden, tucked away in silence. You have been marked for nations. The voice within you, the story you carry, the scars you bear, they are not private trophies. They are assignments, meant to unlock freedom for many. There is a divine mystery here. What you thought was simply your personal struggle has been shaping you into a vessel large enough to carry hope across borders, languages, and cultures. Your testimony is not local, it is global. You may stand in one place physically, but your voice, your influence, your spirit will travel farther than your feet ever could. The prophet Isaiah wrote in chapter 60, verse 3, "Nations will come to your light, and kings to the brightness of your dawn." Amen. This is more than poetic language. It is prophecy over your life. Nations are drawn to the light within you, not because you seek fame, but because heaven has kindled something in you that cannot be extinguished. Kings, leaders, influencers, decision makers will be moved, not by your power, but by the radiance of God's glory shining through you. I once heard the story of a man who grew up in obscurity, his life marked by pain and silence. He believed his story would end small, unnoticed. Yet, when he began to share what God had done in him, the impact spread beyond his town, beyond his country. Letters poured in from places he had never visited. People were set free by a testimony they had never expected to hear. What once felt like a wound became a weapon of light for nations. Chosen one. Your scars carry authority. The betrayal you endured equips you to speak healing into broken hearts. The rejection you survived allows you to minister to the overlooked. The storms you withstood make you a lighthouse for those still lost at sea. You were marked, not only to survive, but to multiply hope into the lives of many. Imagine an arrow shot into the sky. Its flight begins small, but its reach extends far beyond the archer's hand. Your words, your life, your obedience are arrows. They will land in places you may never set foot, piercing through darkness, striking the heart of those who need light. Do not underestimate what rests in you. The Spirit of God has placed a mantle upon your shoulders that will outlive you, long after your steps leave the earth. The fruit of your obedience will continue to ripple outward, like waves born from a single stone dropped into a pond. Your influence will circle outward, touching lives far beyond what you see. Chosen one. The nations are waiting. They may not know your name yet, but they will know your light. They may never read your full story, but they will feel its impact. For what God does in you is not meant to remain in you. It is meant to flow outward, crossing every boundary, breaking every wall, reaching every heart that longs for freedom. Lift your eyes beyond yourself. You were chosen not for smallness, but for greatness, not for isolation, but for impact. And as you walk forward, remember, the mark of God upon you is not fragile, nor fleeting. It is eternal, stretching far beyond the limits of geography, culture, and time itself. Chosen one. The call has always been clear. Rise and stand. You were never meant to bow under the weight of shame or sink beneath the flood of fear. You were destined to be a pillar, a steady flame, a voice that echoes beyond your generation. This is not a suggestion, it is your destiny. There are moments in life when the horizon seems dim, when you wonder if your steps carry meaning. But heaven leans close today to remind you, every step has purpose. Every whisper of prayer has been building into a symphony. And now, that symphony calls you to rise. From the book of Haggai, chapter 2, verse 9. The glory of this present house will be greater than the glory of the former house, says the Lord. And in this place I will grant peace. Courage does not mean you feel no fear. It means you choose to rise despite it. Courage is standing tall in the storm, not because the winds are weak, but because your foundation is unshakable. Courage is the decision to move forward when everything in you screams to turn back. I recall the story of a man who spent years bowed by rejection. Every failure became a stone on his back until he could hardly lift his eyes. But one day, he heard God whisper, "Rise," and he did, slowly at first. But with each step, strength returned. His life became a living monument that even the heaviest stones could not bury a chosen soul. Chosen one. Rising is your portion. Standing is your assignment. But this rising is not just for you, it is a signal to others. Like a lighthouse lifting its flame, your courage tells others that safety is near. Like a mountain lifting its peak, your resilience reminds others that the ground still holds steady. And so, let your response today be more than silence. When you press like, imagine it as planting your flag on the battlefield, saying, "I will not hide." When you share, see it as passing your torch into another's hands, igniting fire where darkness once ruled. When you subscribe, picture it as building a shelter where weary souls can return again and again to be refreshed. But there is more. Let your voice echo beneath these words. Write in the comments, "I rise today." Just 3 words. Yet they carry the weight of covenant. When you declare them, you are not just writing, you are stepping onto sacred ground. You are saying, "This is the day I stood. This is the day I chose courage. This is the day I marked my rising." Do not think of these acts as digital motions. Think of them as spiritual symbols, visible signs of an invisible truth. Like ancient altars built from stones, they are markers that testify, "Here I rose. Here I stood. Here I obeyed the call." Chosen one. Rise. Not tomorrow. Not someday. Today. For the world is waiting for the sound of your footsteps, for the sight of your light, for the testimony of your stand. And as you rise, heaven rises with you. The promise of Haggai is alive in you. The glory ahead will be greater than what is behind. Your story is not fading, it is intensifying, building towards something brighter. Chosen one. Peace is also promised in that verse. Not a fragile peace, but a lasting one. As you rise, you will carry both glory and peace, becoming a living testimony that God's word never fails. Chosen one. There is a fire that has followed you through every season. It is not the fire of destruction, but the fire of refining. Many see fire and fear loss. But in the kingdom of God, fire is never wasted. It burns away the unnecessary, leaving only what is pure, strong, and unshakable. You know this process well. You have walked through moments where it felt like everything familiar was being stripped away. Friendships dissolved. Dreams seemed to crumble. Plans collapsed like fragile walls. At the time, it felt like ruin. But looking back, can you not see? The fire was removing what could not remain, making room for what would last. The prophet Malachi wrote in chapter 3, verse 3, "He will sit as a refiner and purifier of silver. He will purify the Levites and refine them like gold, to bring offerings in righteousness." This image is tender and powerful. The refiner does not abandon the silver in the fire. He sits beside it, watching carefully, ensuring the heat never destroys, only purifies. In the same way, God has never left you in your fire. His eyes have been fixed on you, His hands steady over the flame, ensuring that when you emerge, you shine. I recall the testimony of a woman who endured financial ruin and the collapse of relationships all in the same year. She felt as though everything had been burned down to ashes. Yet in the years that followed, what rose from the ashes was stronger than what had been lost. New opportunities, restored trust, and a faith that glowed like molten gold. Her fire did not end her story, it refined her story. Chosen one. The same is true for you. Fire does not come to destroy the chosen, it comes to reveal the chosen. Just as gold reveals its brilliance only after intense heat, your calling is revealed more clearly through the refining. Think of pottery placed in the kiln. Without fire, the clay remains soft, fragile, easily broken. But once exposed to the flames, it hardens into a vessel that can hold, carry, and endure. That is you. Every fire you've endured has been shaping you into a vessel strong enough to carry the weight of your assignment. Do not despise the flames. Do not curse the heat. For though they have scorched, they have also sealed you. Though they have stripped, they have also strengthened you. The fact that you are still here, still listening, still believing, is proof that the fire has not consumed you, it has transformed you. Chosen one. Lift your eyes. You are not defined by what burned away. You are defined by what survived the fire. And what survived is radiant, unshakable, purified for the work ahead. The fire was never the end of you. It was the unveiling of you. So, walk forward with the quiet glow of one refined. Let the ashes behind you remind you not of loss, but of transformation. For the God who sat with you in the fire has marked you as pure gold, ready to shine for the world to see. The fire was not your enemy, it was your teacher. It revealed your strength, burned away illusions, and crowned you with resilience no storm can take. Chosen one. Wear this refinement with honor. You are no longer fragile clay. You are gold tested by fire, radiant and enduring. Chosen one. The journey has led you here to the moment of sealing, of sending. What began in whispers of identity and trials of fire now culminates in release. You are no longer wandering in uncertainty. Heaven has declared you affirmed, crowned, and unstoppable. You have walked valleys of silence, endured rejection, battled unseen chains, and risen from ashes. Each season was not a detour, but a stepping stone. Every scar has become a seal, every storm a testament. What you carry now is not merely survival, it is authority, born from endurance and stamped by grace. The Apostle Paul wrote in his letter to the Philippians, chapter 1, verse 6, being confident of this, that he who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus. This verse is the signature over your life. What God started in you will not remain unfinished. Your story will not trail off into silence. The one who called you will complete the calling. The seal of heaven rests upon you, ensuring your steps are not wasted but directed toward fullness. Think of a letter sealed with wax in ancient times. The seal declared ownership and authenticity, proof that what was written inside carried the authority of the sender. That is you. You are sealed with the Spirit, carrying the mark of heaven's authority wherever you go. Your words, your presence, your testimony each bears that seal. I once knew of a man who doubted his calling because life did not look glorious. He worked quietly, served faithfully, and never sought recognition. Yet everywhere he went, lives shifted, hearts awakened, faith was stirred. One day, it became clear his influence was not loud, but it was sealed by God, and that seal made it undeniable. Chosen one. You are stepping into that same reality. You no longer need to strive for validation or force open doors. The seal of God opens what no man can close. The authority placed upon you is not temporary. It is eternal. Picture an arrow released from a bow. For a moment, it soars unseen, cutting through the air in silence. But its destination is certain, its flight unstoppable. That is your life now. You have been released, sealed for impact, sent with precision. The places you will touch, the hearts you will ignite, the freedom you will declare, all have already been marked by heaven. This sealing does not mean the absence of challenge. It means the guarantee of victory. The same God who refined you in fire and steadied you in storms now sends you forth with confidence. You are no longer waiting to be chosen. You are already chosen, already affirmed, already sealed. Chosen one. Let this truth echo in your soul. You are unstoppable. Not because of your strength, but because of His seal upon you. You are sent, not in weakness, but in power. And as you step forward, heaven itself walks with you. Your journey is not closing, it is opening wider than ever before. You are sealed and sent, carrying the authority of the one who called you. Go forth, chosen one. The world awaits the light only you can carry. Sealed does not mean hidden, it means secured. Your destiny is locked under heaven's authority, untouchable by fear, doubt, or the schemes of darkness. What God has marked cannot be erased. Sent does not mean abandoned, it means untrusted. You are being released with purpose. Like an arrow guided by the hand of the master archer, your flight is steady, your impact sure. Chosen one. Embrace this with courage. Your tomorrow is not uncertain, it is secured by divine design. Walk boldly, for you carry not only promise, but fulfillment within your steps. Chosen one. If you have walked through every word of this journey, then know this: you are not the same as when you began. Heaven has poured truth into you, fire into your spirit, and courage into your bones. What you carry now is not just encouragement, it is a mantle. You are chosen, sealed, and sent. But this moment is not meant to end here. just as rivers flow beyond their source. What has been planted in you today is meant to flow outward. Others are waiting for the light you now carry, for the testimony alive in your scars, for the hope burning in your voice. When you press like, think of it as adding your stone to an altar of remembrance, declaring, "This word has touched me." When you share, see it as scattering seeds into fields you may never walk, seeds that will bloom in hearts you may never meet. When you subscribe, picture it as returning to a well that never runs dry, choosing to remain where living water continually flows. And when you comment, you are not just writing, you are etching your faith into this very moment, marking your yes before heaven and earth. Do not see these as commands, but as invitations, beautiful, voluntary acts that echo your agreement. Just as worship is never forced, but freely given, so too are these responses. They are your way of saying, "I receive, I remember, I rise, chosen one." The journey continues beyond this script. Carry the flame, spread the light. Let your actions, both here and in life, testify that you have heard heaven's call and answered with courage. Your best days are not behind you, they are before you. Rise and shine, for the world awaits your light.